It's time for the Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 Complete Edition review for the Nintendo Switch. I remember when I first saw a commercial for Platinum back in 2006 for the PC. One of the taglines was, "Now you can ride the rides." I was instantly hooked. You can build your own theme park and ride the rides in first-person mode? Sign me up. Fast forward nearly 2 decades, and now there's a port on the Switch? Oh!
Heck yes!
As the title says, the Complete Edition includes both expansion packs, which means you have access to water park and zookeeping assets and elements. It also has an HD touch-up and widescreen aspect ratio. This game has many different features and elements that I could talk about, but I'm only going to focus on a few in detail, otherwise this review could be half an hour long or more. Also, this review isn't a comparison between the Complete Edition and Platinum. I will only be focusing on what's available with the Complete Edition. When you first begin, you have access to a handful of parks, each with their own overall theme. Many of the parks are locked though, and you'll need to reach certain goals within the first available parks to unlock them. When you first enter a park, you'll be given different tiers of objectives to hit. You honestly don't have to complete them, but you won't be able to unlock the other parks if you don't. Plus, hitting the objectives can earn you more features within the park you're currently working on. Most of the park will be empty when you begin, but there's usually a few pre-installed paths, shops, and rides. You can choose to either keep and work around them, but I don't think this is fun, as I want the park to be a blank slate when I begin. Customers, known as peeps, will already be in your park when you start, and if you delete assets and paths around them, they will usually stand still until a path is created near them, or you can tediously one by one pick them up and move them elsewhere. Depending on the park, you'll begin with a set amount of cash on hand so you can purchase and build park assets. If the park allows it, I find it best to take out a loan so you have more to work with. This game is basically a sandbox simulator hybrid. Yes, you're free to mostly build and design what you want, but you're also restricted to how much money you have, and figuring out how to spend and make money wisely can be a bit tricky. If you heavily focus on shops and vendors, you're not going to make much money, and your peeps will get bored and leave. On the flip side, if you neglect shops and only focus on building rides, your peeps will complain about the lack of vendors. It's a balancing act that's fun to figure out. Another element of keeping peeps happy is your park employees. You can and will need to hire specific employees, such as custodians and mechanics, to keep your park clean and running smoothly. It's cool how you can name your employees and train them to be more effective. It's always best, and actually really cheap to train them, because if you don't, they'll have a higher chance of quitting. The game is packed with analytical and financial data to help you determine what areas of improvement you need to focus on. Generally speaking, it's not too complicated to figure out what you need to do to attract more customers and keep them happy, but the tools and data are there, which helps with the overall understanding of your park operations. There's definitely a learning curve when it comes to the controls. Everything is menu-based, and using these menus can be tricky, even after several hours of gameplay. There are 2 main circular menus you'll use. The left side one is your main hub for everything. Here you can choose which types of rides to build, paths and vendors to place, and access your analytical and financial data. The right side menu is for specifics of a particular asset. Depending on what you're focusing on, let's say a ride, here you can choose how much to charge, view test result data, the paint job for the ride itself, and so on. Or like with shops, you can set the prices for each SKU the vendor sells, customize customer options, and even sync the settings for like-type shops, which is a huge welcome as matching all the prices and settings for each individual ice cream parlor would be tedious. The menus aren't necessarily difficult to navigate, but it's how you navigate is what makes it a challenge. The left and right menus are respectively controlled with the L and R buttons in combination with the analog stick. You have to hold down the L or R trigger and simultaneously position the stick in the corresponding direction of the menu you want to access, then let go to bring up a submenu. It feels clunky and definitely takes some getting used to, but at the same time, I'm not sure how it could be better, seeing how it was originally designed for mouse control. Building roller coasters is one of the main attractions in designing your park. You can choose pre-designed tracks, but I hardly ever do this as it's much more fun to design it yourself. When laying out pieces of track, the camera will center itself on where the next piece will go, and this can become problematic as I remember having full camera control on the PC, and only having the camera dead center on the next piece can limit your perception on how the track will look. You can swing the camera around and zoom in and out, but I wish you could control where to center the camera. It's programmed this way so that the next piece of track can be built with ease instead of you trying to reposition the cursor each time a piece of track is built. So I guess overall the auto-centered design is appreciated, but it can still feel awkward. Once you've built your coaster, you can ride it free of charge. This is a really cool feature and lets you enjoy your creation even further. You can ride almost every ride and attraction, which just increases the depth of gameplay. Even though the graphics have been upgraded to HD, specific assets still look blocky and just generally outdated. This is especially true for the peeps who even looked outdated back in the mid-aughts. One of my favorite features was building water parks. Designing pools, lounge areas, and water slides is really cool and adds more design depth to your parks. In addition, you can also include zoo elements. It's pretty cool how you have to select the right fencing type for specific animals, and like the water park, adds to just how much you can do to increase your park's aesthetic and value. If you really want to get your creative juices flowing, you can enter sandbox mode where you're given access to a huge piece of land with unlimited funds. This mode is appreciated, but I honestly don't play this, as I like to play with specific restrictions and goals to hit. Still, the potential to create your perfect park is available. I think it's really cool this game is available on Switch, but to be completely honest, you'll probably have a more fun experience if you can play this on PC. The game is just not made for a console, and while the controls have been revamped for console play, using a mouse and keyboard is just objectively better. Still, it's not a bad game, nor is it poorly designed, and if you can get used to the controls, you'll have a fun time designing your dream parks. This game gets a 3.75 out of 5 with the title of